Colleagues, I'd like to call the October 12th, 2023 Shenandoah County School Board meeting to order at 6 p.m. Ms. Ritz will not be with us because of a personal matter today, so we will definitely miss her. Dr. Shepherd, do you have a motion to reconvene in closed session, please?
I do. I recommend the School Board of Shenandoah County convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider several personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation of several employees of the Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711, A14, and I recommend the School Board of Shenandoah County convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act for the purpose of discussing and considering several student matters involving the admission, discipline, or disclosures of information contained in a scholastic record of students in the Shenandoah County Public School Systems under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A2.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion from my board members?
Yes, I move that the Shenandoah County School Board convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider several personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation of several employees of the Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A14, and to discuss and consider several student matters involving the admission, discipline, or the disclosure of information contained in a scholastic record of students in the Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A2.
Thank you, Mr. Barlow. Do you hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gutschall. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried by 5-0 vote. We will hopefully reconvene by 7 p.m. or considered by the Shenandoah County School Board. Each member will respond, "I do certify," by calling by the clerk. Ms. Jett.
I so certify.
I so certify.
I so certify.
I so certify.
I so certified. Okay, the invocation and the pledge is going to be led by Mr. Gutschall, but before, we have one former employee that we'd like to remember, Shirley Ann Limmerman, who was a driver for our transportation in the northern end and worked in the cafeteria, I believe. And I'd like to add one of my close friends from Page County, Mr. Wayne Comer. He refereed basketball, and he was a dear friend of mine. He's the only person I know that played in the World Series in 1968. And he coached Page County baseball to a number of state championships. And one of the highlights that I remember reading about his state championship teams, a reporter of the DNR asked, is it good coaching? What is it, Mr. Comer? And he made this comparison. A donkey has never won the Kentucky Derby, meaning he had athletes. It's not about him. It's about the athletes. A donkey has never won the Kentucky Derby. That's him, down to earth. Okay, let's bow our heads for a moment of silence, please. Thank you.
All right, let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you today in humility and faith. We thank you for all you have given us and the many blessings in our lives. Show us the way and fill us with courage and wisdom. Help us to remember your love and grace and to be faithful in your service to you. Give us the patience and understanding to face life's challenges with grace. We ask these things in your name. Amen. Amen. Now for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving on, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the agenda as presented, except to postpone item 5.3, proposed library materials selection policy, to the November 9th, 2023 school board meeting.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Keller. Discussion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to give some indication as to why I think this is the proper move. For the last 7 or 8 months, we've been discussing this topic, and it's been a wide-ranging topic, lots of points of view, and I think everybody on this board has learned something about the policy, the need, or the requirements for doing such a thing. And we've kind of been learning as we've been going. We seem to have reached an impasse, but I think there are several areas where we could consider to either compromise or make changes that would be more applicable for a majority vote. I will give you three very quick synopses of the things I think we could still do that would make this proposal more agreeable to a majority of the board, and I'll mention those very quickly. Before I do so, I want to thank Mr. Keller for his aid, support, and understanding on these issues. He and I have worked at trying to come together and bring some of these issues closer to agreement. And we've talked about 3 particular areas where we think that could be done. So I think it might be helpful if I summarize those to the group, and then Mr. Keller can speak to those as well. The first is we do feel that there is in a policy for libraries selection materials a need for a good criteria list of things that need to be considered by librarians and by the school system before books or materials are selected. And we would like to see a meeting of librarians and some other members of the central office staff and a school board member or two to develop that criteria. And we think that could be done quickly. The second thing is that there seemed to be a hang-up on the library, the makeup of the library review committee, in which the proposal stated that parents, stakeholders, would be part of a library review committee that would be appointed by the school board members. It may be more appropriate if the people on the library review committee were appointed from the parent community advisory group by the superintendent rather than by the school board members. And finally, we believe that if such a policy were passed, that we would envision that it would be for a trial period that implemented by January of 2024 and continued in force until December 2024, at which time it would be reviewed and either for sufficiency repassed or rejected in favor of another or no policy. So those are the three ways in which we think, Mr. Chair, that the motion could be improved and perhaps passed in November. And I would defer to my colleague, Mr. Keller.
Well, I don't know that I can add a whole lot more than I think it's probably a good move. I think that everyone, regardless of their position, wants to know what their expectations are. And to some extent, we were asking our librarians to meet our expectations without telling them what it was. I think by establishing a criteria, we're able to do that. And I can tell you that I don't believe that anyone that's in our libraries, and I certainly know that no one up here supports putting books on our shelves that are grossly inappropriate for our students. So I think that developing this criteria is going to be helpful. I think that creating this group of librarians and members of the community that serve on the superintendent's advisory, our parent advisory group, is important. And I think being able to move forward like that is a positive thing for everyone.
Other discussions by my board members? Kyle? Okay. No more discussion. All those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It carried by 5-0 vote. Recognitions, Dr. Shepherd.
Thank you. So this evening we have the 4-H with us, so I would like to ask Ms. Nansel, if you are not Ms. Nansel, to come forward.
I'm Adam Zirkle. Miss Nansel had to be out of town this evening, so I'm stepping in for her.
I know your father will.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Go ahead.
During October, millions of youth, parents, volunteers, and alumni across the country joined us in celebrating the power of positive youth programming during National 4-H Week, including members of the 9 Shenandoah County 4-H clubs. 4-H is the largest informal youth development organization in the U.S. 4-H programs operate under the umbrella of USDA and reach 6 million young people through the 110 land-grant universities like Virginia Tech, Virginia State, and through cooperative extension in more than 3,000 local offices, serving every county and parish in the United States. We celebrate 4-H Week during October. 4-H is a feeling. 4-H provides a place for all youth to feel valued, heard, and connected. As a kid, I did a couple years of 4-H, but 4-H at that time did not offer near what 4-H offers now. If these kids get up and speak, you'll find that out in a hurry. My wife and I are both now all-stars. We are the leaders of the Shenandoah County Livestock Club. I am an advisor on county council. She is a leader of honor. Help me out, but I think that, yeah. So we are deeply involved in 4-H now. So tonight I'm pleased to introduce some of the best and brightest 4-Hers who are currently serving in leadership roles. They will be sharing their own stories of growth, and they've also brought a special treat for you. First up will be Maggie Eaton. She's from the Newmarket 4-H Club and a 4-H camp advisor.
So I'm Maggie Eaton, and I'm a senior at Mountain View High School, and I'm in the Newmarket 4-H Club and the Honor Club, and I just got tapped as a 4-H All-Star this year at Congress. I've been in 4-H for my whole life. I grew up near a farm, and I've been showing dairy cows since I was 3 years old, which is probably a little bit too small to be showing a dairy cow, but I enjoyed it, and I still do. The county fair was and always has been one of my favorite places to be. I've also always had a love of singing, and 4-H had a place for me there with the Share the Fun competition. It was my dad who convinced me to compete, and I was really reluctant to get up there and sing, but I've been to the state competition at 4-H Congress twice because of that, so thanks to my dad. And I found that 4-H is a place where I can explore anything that I'm interested in, and it has a place for everybody. It brought me out of my comfort zone. The most impactful part of 4-H for me, though, has been being a camp counselor at 4-H Overnight Camp in Front Royal. Everyone says that being in 4-H teaches you leadership and responsibility skills, and being at camp is definitely an example of that. I was absolutely terrified the first year that I was a counselor because I had no previous experience doing anything like that, and I was so worried that the kids were gonna hate me. But I ended up absolutely loving it, and I don't think the kids hated me. Camp is a week that I most look forward to during the year, and it's another one of my favorite places to be. I love having a responsible role there and seeing how the kids are enjoying it just as much as I did when I was a camper. Being a counselor taught me how to be a good leader, and there was lots of music there, so it was right up my alley. 4-H overall, singing and Share the Fun, and especially being a camp counselor, has inspired me to want to pursue an education career, specifically in music. I have found a passion for music, being a leader, and inspiring younger generations to pursue their goals. I know that the confidence, responsibility, compassion, and all the other skills that I've learned in 4-H will help me become a great teacher, and I hope I can teach those lessons to my future students. Thank you.
Great job.
Good evening. My name is Nate Farmer, and I'm currently a junior at Mountain View High School. I've been in 4-H since I was in elementary school. One of my biggest impacts 4-H has had on my life is teaching me responsibility. As a member of the livestock judging team, I've learned that a team was always counting on me. If I was not serious or I did not study, I would be letting my team down. As I got older, I began to hold leadership roles within my 4-H group. I was treasurer, historian, and now this week, I was voted vice president for the second term. Each leadership position gave me more responsibilities. Living on a farm, I also had chores at home, so I learned how to manage my time. Some of my 4-H responsibilities have been a bit of a challenge. Like the summer, Maggie and I and a few others were put in charge of a 4-H day camp for a week. That was a whole lot of high energy responsibility. Another role I've had in 4-H is on the Livestock Show and Sale Executive Committee. After showing cattle and goats for many years, it was exciting to be given the opportunity to help and make decisions that benefit our youth in Shenandoah at the Shenandoah County Fair. It is a big responsibility to be able to impact the kids the way that older 4-H members have impacted me. This past summer, I had the privilege to go with 4-Hers from all over the state to the Dominican Republic. Being an ambassador not only for 4-H, but for our country was an amazing responsibility. Overall, 4-H has taught me a lot of different things, like being a member of a team, time management, and most importantly, responsibility. I am grateful for my time in 4-H, and I'm grateful for my leaders, mentors, and I'm grateful for your continued support of our 4-H organization.
Great job. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lizzie Zirkle. I am 15 years old, in the 10th grade, and homeschooled. I am the president of the Shenandoah County 4-H Livestock Club and vice president of the Shenandoah County 4-H Council. I am also a member of the Shenandoah County Honor Club. I show sheep and goats not only at the county fair, but all over Virginia and West Virginia. I play volleyball for Valley Thunder Homeschool Sports in Winchester, and am involved at my church and at Theater Shenandoah in Edinburgh, where I am currently playing Judy. Let me give you a quick recap of my year in 4-H. In May and June of last year, I was accepted as a delegate to go to National 4-H Congress. I was the youngest delegate from Virginia. In November of 2022, I went to Atlanta, Georgia, and attended National 4-H Congress. Now moving forward to May and June of this year, I applied to be a district ambassador. So I went through an application, an interview, and then had to present a speech to my district. Do you know how scary it is to talk to a room full of teenagers? The answer is terrifying. Of course, at the end of this process, it came to a vote. After a lot of fun at the last night of Congress, I found out that I was not elected as an ambassador. For one of the first times in my 4-H career, I experienced failure. The definition of failure is the omission of expected or required action. We all have felt failure somewhere throughout our lives. There's a Dr. Seuss quote that I really stick by. When something bad happens, you have 3 choices. You can let it define you, let it destroy you, or you can let it strengthen you. In September, I went to a volleyball tournament in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, where I saw 2 types of teams. One that let every point for the other team strengthen them and made them keep going, or another one who let every point on the other team's side weaken them to the point that they just laid over and let the other team win. Anytime you suffer a setback or a disappointment, put your head down and plow ahead. Les Brown. I let my failure strengthen me. I then had opportunities. I got to be in a show at Theater Shenandoah that otherwise I would not have had time to be in. I got to work harder with my sheep and goats and went on to win Reserve Grand Champion Showman at the Shenandoah County Fair. I also would not have been able to try out for White Christmas, which I'm having so very much fun at. I've worked hard to overcome my failure and am trying to build back up the courage to go for bigger. I will leave you with one last quote. One's best success comes after their greatest disappointment. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
You did a great job as well.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Lindsay Rigby, and I'm a 2021 graduate of Central High School and currently a sophomore at Laurel Ridge Community College, pursuing a degree in science with an agricultural specialization. I used to be a 4-H member, but I have now moved on to being a 4-H volunteer and now more recently a 4-H leader. I've spoken in front of this board numerous times over the course of my involvement in this organization. Some of you may be slightly familiar with me and slightly familiar with my 4-H story. To make it as brief as I possibly can, I joined 4-H in October of 2015 with the Shenandoah County 4-H Goat Club and quickly found my first project, which was 2 market goats. Over the course of my 4-H eligibility, I also completed market beef, swine, sheep, and poultry projects. I had the opportunity to exhibit these projects at the county, state, and national level. Simultaneously, my club involvement also stemmed out, and in the following years, I joined the Exchange Club, Livestock Club, and Honor Club. On top of that, I had the opportunity to serve on the county level as the County 4-H Council Secretary, First Vice President, and was able to round out my final years of eligibility as the County Council President. Additionally, on top of that, I also served as a youth representative for the Shenandoah County 4-H and FFA Livestock Show and Sale Board, a youth member of the Extension Leadership Council, and a co-chair and chair of numerous county-based committees. I was also tapped as Virginia 4-H All-Star. Sometime throughout my jumble of officer positions and responsibilities, I was also able to find time to participate in competition events and teams. It was these events that I found the most impactful in the molding of my abilities as a youth participant. Prepared public speaking, extemporaneous public speaking, table setting, presentation, meets evaluation, livestock judging, and livestock skill-a-thon were my contests of choice. As my final year of 4-H approached, I began competing in my favorite contest for one final time. In June of 2022, I placed top 20 at the Virginia State Livestock Judging Contest, which granted me the opportunity to compete as a member of the state livestock judging team. This would be the first time I stepped outside of a county team and onto the state level. Of the 20 individuals invited to compete on the state team, once a year, 4 of those individuals are selected to represent Virginia at the National 4-H Livestock Judging Contest in Louisville, Kentucky. That same year, I was selected as one of the 4. Upon my return back home, I was invited to serve as the County 4-H Livestock Judging and Skill-a-thon coach. 1 month and 10 days from today marks my 1-year anniversary of sorts, serving as the coach of this team. From 2015 forward, I dreaded the days where I would not hold an office, exhibit an animal, or compete on a team in 4-H. I'm constantly asked, what was your best 4-H experience? What did you like about it? And what did you gain from it? This right here is the best 4-H experience for me. This is and always will be my favorite part of 4-H, serving as a coach. Any plaque, award, and ribbon I have received could not compete to the fact of being a coach. In fact, every year at the state contest of the county team places overall, the coach also receives a rosette from it. Last year, we placed 4th in the state, which is a very high honor for these kids. This rosette that we won from this contest, I keep right front and center at my desk all the time, just because it's a reminder of the opportunity I have to work with the most driven and intelligent and passionate group of kids I know. I find that I value their success over mine. I push them to be their best because I know they can be that and so much more, and I'm so excited to see them go there over the course of the next couple years. There are a little over 20 individuals competing on the Shenandoah County 4-H Livestock Judging and Skill-a-thon team this year. That's making us one of the largest county teams in the state. The youth you see sitting behind me practice 2 to 3 days a week, not including the time they spend utilizing materials they have been provided by me at home. And believe it or not, they do voluntarily do homework, and they ask for things to do at home to study. On top of that, they will also travel anywhere from an hour to a short plane ride away this year for contests and camps. They will meet and engage with industry experts and participate in events ranging from small to large scale. This is an extremely large time commitment for a 4-H'er. So far since our season begun, which it only started about 3 months ago, a little more than that, after our 2-week break from after states, the participants have had the opportunity to engage in approximately 70 to 80 hours of practice time with me, and they've had the opportunity to travel anywhere from 700 to 800 miles in the last 3 months with me. I would like to recognize the team members who are here with us this evening. Not all of them could be with us, but there's a few. Olivia Hawkins, senior. Tanner Hawkins, junior. Adeline Hawkins, junior. And Brittany Sine, senior. On top of that, I know she's not here this evening, but I would like to give an extremely special shout out to Carol Nansel, not only for her tremendous impact on me as I grew up throughout the program, but also her continued impact on them in my group and then the group over here as well. Thank you for your time this evening. As a volunteer, I truly appreciate you listening to the 4-H members here in this county, and especially their presentation truly tells the story of 4-H. So any questions? No?
What year are you at Laurel Ridge?
I'm a sophomore.
Sophomore. And what is your future plans?
That's a little tough. I know I want to stay in the world of ag type of things. I'm really currently thinking about embryology right now, small animal embryology, so sheep and goats is kind of my thing. But at the moment, I'm open to everything. I've bounced around ag teacher, different things like
We're
that.
looking for ag teachers.
Yeah, I know you are. Yeah,
You don't have to go far to get hired.
yeah.
Okay, any other comments to this fine young lady?
Right.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you again.
As I said, you'd hear a variety of stuff out of this group. They have cookies they're going to pass out to you so that you can enjoy a sweet snack. And we really appreciate the opportunity to come speak. And
Thanks for your work.
Thank you very much.
Good job. Great job.
Nice job. You talk what you read from New York.
Great. Good luck. Keep up the hard work.
And I knew if you were here, there'd be cookies.
I knew it. Good job.
Good job, you guys. Sorry, now we've got cookies in our hands.
So Mr. Todd Lynn has some great news for us, if he will come up to share.
Good evening, Chairman Helsley, Dr. Shepard, members of the school board. It is absolutely my pleasure to recognize 3 of our most outstanding scholars that competed at the Rockingham County Fair the day before school and the week of the first week of school. These timed events kicked off with the carpentry event, where these students had to prepare a bench. They're given the raw materials, they're given a blueprint, and they have to go build. They've got 2 hours, about 2 hours to complete the project. And beside me here, Mr. Marcus Ferguson won first place in the carpentry division. The next night we had electricity students. They had to read a schematic. Then they had to do wire for lights, switches, and receptacles. And Mr. Zach Boatwright took first place in that event. The last competition that triplet students participated in was in masonry. Students had to build a cube where Mr. Cody Raines took first place in that event. So these events are judged by industry people. So they're construction people that judged our students and how well they did. We had competitors from Augusta County, Rockingham County, Greene County, and Shenandoah County all combined at these events. Out of these events, their teachers, Mr. Chrisman in carpentry, Mr. Stevens in electricity, Mr. Kibler in masonry, and then myself are extremely proud of these young men for taking the sweep in the construction trade classes that we participated in. Next year, we're going to go for 4, as we'll participate in HVAC as well. Thank you for giving us the time to recognize Marcus and his fellow classmates from Triplet Tech. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, the Shenandoah County School Board welcomes public comment during most regular meetings and during public hearings. School board members do not respond to the public comments during the meeting or hearing. Each speaker may speak up to 3 minutes. The board generally allows to 30 minutes for public comments on agenda and non-agenda items. All comments should address a matter related to Shenandoah County Public Schools. Complaints regarding division employees should be directed to the school principal or to the appropriate school division official. The school board expects that each speaker be courteous, modeling for our students how one can respectfully disagree with other views. Speakers will address their comments to the entire school board and not to the individual board member, to the superintendent, or to a staff member, nor to the audience. Speakers will not engage in personal attacks. Speakers were asked to sign a sheet when you entered the room, and we will go by the list. And the first one is my good friend, Pastor Karen.
I am Pastor Karen Casperson, and I thank you for this time. I wrote my remarks before the proposed modifications, but I decided to read it anyway. We talk about the 3 R's of education. Here's arithmetic about reading. There are at least 102 books whose suitability have been questioned. They are but a small percentage of those on the Moms for Liberty hit list. Let's assume that all 102 titles are either presently in our libraries or have been requested. Let's also assume that they are equally divided among the 3 age brackets, so that means 34 each. What are the statistical odds that one child will select one of those 34 books out of thousands and bring it home? Perhaps the adult might find this book to be an opportunity for discussion with the child. Perhaps the adult may find it to be objectionable, leaving 2 options: return the book and have a discussion with the librarian, or bring it to the attention of social media. Hopefully that adult will make the honorable choice and follow the words from Matthew 18:15, more numbers. Let's do some more arithmetic. At least one librarian in one of the 9 schools was in tears after a passage was read at a school board meeting from a book that was reportedly in one of the libraries, but in reality was not on the shelves, nor had it been requested. Librarians with multiple years of experience select books after consulting professional sources and other librarians. They submit their choices to the principal, who then screens the recommendations and forwards the list to the school administration. Every one of these professionals has the best interest of our students in mind. Let's do more arithmetic. Suppose all the objectionable books are either on our shelves or recommended for purchase, and therefore subject to scrutiny. Certainly there are going to be more than 102 titles ordered during any school year. Once again, let's assume that only 102 books are to be ordered. Under the proposed policy, all books must be evaluated by a committee of 9. Each of the 9 committee members must be provided with copies of each book. Multiply. 918 books to be ordered. At what cost? More arithmetic. What are the odds of all 9 members to read each of the 102 books in a timely fashion? 102 books multiplied by how many hours to read each one? Who has that much free time to read all the books in their entirety and properly? Or will only selected passages be read? What percentage of books will be read in their entirety? More of the 3 R's. Take the arithmetic about reading when considering what you will write. Thank you for these 3 minutes.
Thank you. Ms. Virginia Rosen?
It's National Farmers Day. Make sure you thank a farmer today for all that they do, because you wouldn't eat today. And happy belated birthday to the Colonel. We call you the Colonel at my house. But next year, we may have to call you Mr. President. Now, let's get down to business. Very soon, you will vote on the proposed library book policy. And based on what I've been hearing, I suspect some of you will vote no. Perhaps it's time to reflect on your voting records. First, the name change. What a disaster that's been. You spent 6 whole days on that, even though the majority of the citizens didn't want it. Good job. Nice decision making. Next, the mask policy. Some of you thought it was too soon to get rid of the mask. Oh my God, people are going to get sick and die, blah, blah, blah. Well, we all know how that panned out. Nice decision making. Next, WRE. Oh, it's too soon. I don't think the kids can do both. Blah, blah, blah. Well, it's been a huge success. Nice decision making. Now the proposed library policy. We don't need a policy. It's micromanaging. Blah, blah, blah. Lots of games and tactics going on here, like stalling, deliberately leaving it off the agenda, and throwing other wrenches into the process, even though you're probably still going to vote no. Nice decision making. Maybe it's time for some reflection when you're always on the wrong side of the vote. It's either incompetence or you're just being vindictive. And that is not in the job description of a school board member. But don't worry, if you mess up this vote, the cleanup crew will be here next year to straighten everything out.
Thank you. Mike Rickert.
Dr. Shepard, school board members, thank you for giving me the 3 minutes tonight. I came across an excerpt from a book. I can assure you it's not from the 102 that are in question. It's a timely quote from Corey, and I'd like to read it because it applies to what we're talking about. It's sex. I was pretty sure meant whether you were a boy or a girl, and sin made Taunt Jans very angry. But what the two together meant, I could not imagine. And so seated next to Father in the train compartment, I suddenly asked, Father, what is sex sin? He turned to look at me as he always did when answering a question. But to my surprise, he said nothing. At last, he stood up, lifted his traveling case from the rack over our heads, and set it on the floor. Will you carry it off the train, Corey? He said. I stood up and tugged at it. It was crammed with the watches and spare parts he had purchased that morning. It's too heavy, I said. Yes, he said, and it would be a pretty poor father who would ask his little girl to carry such a load. It's the same way, Corey, with knowledge. Some knowledge is too heavy for children. When you are older and stronger, you can bear it. For now, you must trust me to carry it for you. From The Hiding Place, the story of Corey ten Boom. We are asking our children to carry loads that are way too heavy for them. They should not be forced, as children, to see and feel the world through the lenses of adults. Innocence is worth protecting and worth fighting for. We need to do our part as teachers, parents, and caregivers to carry certain things for them until they are old enough to bear the load. In my last minute of being up here, I want to applaud you guys of actually working on coming together on the policy. I like hearing that. I like hearing that everybody's working together. However, the one thing that kind of clued in on me was the appointment of parents to the committee by the superintendent. No insult to the superintendent, but the bottom line is you guys are the ones that are accountable to the taxpayers. So I believe you guys should be the ones playing a role in appointing the parents to the committee. That way you have the taxpayers and the public to answer to. That being said, the bottom line is I believe the parents need to stay involved. Whatever the plan is you guys come up with, parents need to say, after all, it's their kids we're educating. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Charles Street is next.
Good evening. I hope everyone is well. School board members, Dr. Melody Shepard, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. First, I would like to comment on the Careers on Wheels held at Ashby Lee this past Tuesday. Jessica Markowitz did an outstanding job organizing this event for the second year. I know that it took a school effort to pull this event off. There we were one of 15 or 16 businesses that participated. My son Chase Street really enjoyed interacting with the students. For a short time that I was able to be there, I was really impressed with the questions the students were asking. I hope that Jessica and the administration continue to support this event in the future. It's good for the students to ask questions and learn about different careers that are in the community. I don't know if the other elementary schools have a similar career day, but if they don't, I would encourage them to do so. I'm also glad that the weather cooperated for this event, and also applaud all that took the time and effort to do this event. Second, about the library policy, I've listened to all the comments and concerns the last time this topic was brought up. In my opinion, nobody is accusing the librarians as to which books are in the libraries or how they got there. Things just happen, and most of the time fall through the cracks, so to speak. But 100 books made their way into the system somehow. I don't blame the librarians, because if I had to read each book that was acquired or purchased, I probably wouldn't have time to do my job. This policy helps the librarians to have a different set of eyes so that the books don't fall through the cracks. Some people need to understand this policy is to help the librarians to take some of the burden off of their shoulders. Nobody's trying to dictate which books are to be put on the shelves. Just the books are suitable for the students. Do I believe that the policy needs some tweaking? It probably does. But that's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Steve Heisman.
Good evening, school board members. Dr. Shepard, thank you for allowing me to speak a minute this evening. First off, congratulations to all of the 4-H members that we saw here just previously and their achievements with what they have done. And then also congratulations to the successful career on wheels that was the other day at the Southern Campus at Ashby Lee. It looks like it's growing and hopefully getting better and better. And I always want to have to take a minute to praise the WRE, the Weekly Religious Education. It is often running at a great start this school year here. It actually started up 3 times stronger student-wise than what it finished up last year. And that is very, very impressive and very remarkable. And look forward to seeing it grow as we go. And a couple of words on the policy. 2 months ago, we heard comments from both sides of the issue of the books that are in the school library. And after listening to both sides, and what I found very interesting was a little later on in the meeting, as you board members were conducting business under informational items, when you were discussing the issue of the policy, each of you then gave your thoughts and or comments on that policy information. And Ms. Rutz read a couple paragraphs from a book. And when she got done reading, it showed the graphic and raw adult content that was being exposed to our minors. And when she was finished reading, there was a complete silence in the entire boardroom here. It was just several moments, but it seemed like 5 minutes you could have heard a pin drop. The silence in here was deafening. Nothing else on that topic had to be said. The truth was exposed, and one could see how wrong this entire issue is, especially in the public school systems where our tax dollar funds such an activity. It's another example of indoctrination hidden in plain sight, and it needs to be eliminated immediately. And I ask again, where is the accountability? Parents who want their children to be exposed to this adult material, they can buy it online and expose it to them at their homes. Something, it needs to be kept out of the public school system. Something that we all need to be thinking about is throughout the valley, throughout the country, but right here in Shenandoah County, there are a number of students that are in Christian schools, they're in private schools, and I got a report just very recently where we now in Shenandoah County, we have 554 students that are being homeschooled. Now, Ms. Shepherd, we have some 5,800 students, I think, in the
56.
okay? And that's a percentage that is noticeable. And that's something that we need to be thinking about, because right or wrong, what you all are going to be deciding on, you could call it what you want, but it's good versus evil. And there's a number of people that are just flat out taking their children out of the public school systems, and that should be concern to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pastor Katie Goswine. This fine lady, I attended homecoming at my mother's home church Sunday, and she did an outstanding job, as she always does. And the food was good, too.
Dr. Shepherd and Shenandoah County School Board members, I thank you for the few minutes that you are allowing me to talk about Spring Forward, but even more, I thank you for the hours, the days, the months, the years that you have put into serving our community and seeking to be civil servants, a difficult thing to do in this day and age. I know you have agonized over the needs of our children, and you have been in my prayers, and I thank you for your service. So Spring Forward is an after-school program that my congregation and the Hamburg-Ruritan Club, and in cooperation with the Shenandoah County Schools, has joyed to provide since 2009. It is starting up, and I provided you the first two plans of the day that our students were able to enjoy this past Tuesday and then today. And I continue to just stand in awe of the educators who pull these programs together, and our executive director, Jane Perry, for the creative spirit that she provides. I can't tell you that if I had to take a test before Tuesday on deciduous trees, I would have passed. So I'm always learning something at Spring Forward, and it's always an enrichment opportunity for our students. This year, so far, we have 15 scholars that are registered, and 3 from the southern campus and 12 from the central campus. 9 of them are returning students, and 6 are new scholars, 8 girls, 7 boys, and they are just a joy to be with. Our staff is tremendous. It's created of 15 retired school educators and military officers, community leaders, and then Pastor Katie. And when we show up, as soon as we arrive, we put on our name tags, and we all become a community of learners together. We also are blessed to have 2 former scholars serving as tutors as they complete their college degrees, and you can tell that they love this program. We are funded by private grants through Shenandoah Community Foundation, through the Francis and Michael Williamson Family Trust, Charitable Trust, as well as support from the Hamburg-Ruritan Club and from the Zion Lutheran Church and Edinburgh Lutheran Parish. I want to thank the the Shenandoah County Schools for all the help and the time that you have provided in supporting this program as well. And thanks to Linda Hodges, who will be with us next Tuesday, providing boundary trainings for our staff. We seek to provide a highly, just lost my train of thought, a highly skilled program. And we pray for our students, and we pray for all those who support our students. So thank you again for being part of this wonderful program.
Thank you. Next speaker is Mr. Tom Street.
Good evening. I noticed my brother had 45 seconds left, and I was going to ask could I add it to mine, but I see Steve Heisman totally took that. Anyway, I want to thank the school board for being here tonight. Thank you, Admiral. I wanted to comment on the library book policy. And I'm here to speak not only as an adult, but I really want to express I'm here as a parent. I have a student at North Fork Middle School, and I talked to a lot of parents here recently, and I thought somebody would actually disagree with me because normally there always is somebody that disagrees, but nobody did. And I heard comments in the past and about, you know, we should trust our librarians are educated, and I don't think that's the issue. We do trust our librarians. They are educated. So I don't think anybody has an issue with the librarians. We are proud of them. But, so as a parent, it comes down to, you know, I think about it a lot at work, and, you know, bottom line is it doesn't have to be complicated. And what adult, when I think of as adult, what adult would be against some formal policy as a safeguard, as a watchdog? Because, you know, it's there, but remember, there's nothing wrong with being proactive, okay? There's nothing wrong with being proactive because there's probably more to come if nothing is done. So as a parent, I just want to express, and it's a term that I've used for a long time, and for many, many years, I've told people this, I've trusted the Shenandoah County Public School System that they act under good faith. And that's my message, just simply as a parent tonight, to the school personnel. And whoever it is, I mean, whether it's in the past, Mr. Jim Hines is a teacher, or Mr. Todd Lemon, an administrator, or the superintendent, or the school board. Us parents always remember that we just ask that you simply always act under good faith in what's best for the kids. And remember, evil triumphs when good people do nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else in the audience like to speak that did not sign up? Hearing none, we will proceed. Next on our agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion? Colleagues?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Gutschall. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Barlow. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? It carried by a 5-0 vote. Moving on to information agenda, number 4. Strategic goals and comprehensive long-range planning. Dr. Heingardner.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. I'm going to do the best I can. Dr. Shepard. I got a little bit of a sinus infection going, so I'm going to say as little as possible.
We'd like that.
But
here's a haul.
I'm
You,
I'll never turn down a gift from a former teacher. Thank you. All right. The long-range plan. You saw this several months ago. You saw the first draft of it. We were in data collection mode at that time. We've got most of that data collected, and we're now ready to show it to you. You have it there on your computers, but I'm going to skim through it on the screen. There's a table of contents, board members, the central office staff is listed, principles are listed. The back pages of this is where the meat is. Our missions, mission, vision, belief statements. We have to have some curriculum components into the long-range plan, so they are there. Part. A new segment we have to have is the literacy plan, and that is there. You have your school board goals that you've worked through in one of the board meeting sessions. There's the other two. There's 5 of those goals. There's demographic information about the school system. And then these pages are the ones that begin to bear the fruit of the work and kind of guide us and show us and give us some information as to the progress that the school division is making with regards to the goals that you've selected. Now, I do want to pause at this point right here, and because I want to mention one point that Mr. Barlow raised when we were meeting, and that is a lot of good things can happen in schools and you only see it by the feel, or you can only feel it. It's atmosphere, it's environment, it's culture. It's not going to resonate itself with a number. And that's an important concept to remember, and I promise you, we do remember that, and we will continue to remember that. However, it's also good to be able to chart our progress, and that's what this chart does. So under our academic achievement and growth, you see, I think there's 9 different topics that we monitor. And you can see we're in the infancy stages of this particular plan. But obviously, our graduation rate is one of the top things that we monitor and that we watch. And we've been very, very, very blessed for many, many years to have a high graduation rate. But of course, we'll never be satisfied until it's 100 going across there. But you can see the other points that we monitor under academic achievement. The college and career readiness, and then of course the SOLs, that the accreditation report, and then our reading, writing, math, science, and social studies. Those are SOL scores. You can see what the specific item is. You can see the person responsible for collecting it, and then the results of how that goes. And so obviously, over the course of the next several years, we want to see these ticking up. That's obviously the goal. So that's academics. Number 2 goal is positive school climate. These are 10 or 11 data points that we'll collect. We continue to monitor. I will tell you, and just using this as an example, a number, that number right there, 4506, is just a number if you don't know the information behind that number. The number before that, 2661, that's just a number. Now we do have something to compare it to, obviously, but it's still, unless you know the details to the number, you really don't know what it says. And I'm just using this one as an example because it's a very easy one for people to wrap their head around. Does that mean that we had more incidents? You could take that away from what that says. Does that mean we're reporting more incidents than we had to the year before? That might be part of it. There could be lots of different reasons, and there usually is. There's usually not one reason why a number goes up or down. It's usually multifaceted, for sure. But that's just one example that I wanted to make sure to point out, because you may see a number, and if you don't know the context and the story behind that number, it may not make sense to you. So my point in that is, if you look over these over the course of the next week or so, or whenever, don't hesitate to call us. You can call me. If I don't know the answer, I'll find it out. But we will certainly get you an answer as to what we believe a number is the way that it is. The NAY is simply, that information NAY down there at the bottom is not available yet. As soon as that information is available, I'll update these. But that's pulse survey data is coming from JMU, and it's coming in as we speak. So over the course of the next several weeks, Ms. Hodges will be unpacking that and be able to populate those fields. We look at goal 3, family engagement and community connections. You can see some of the points that we emphasize there and some of the topics that we look at to determine progress on that. The reason these are shaded out is because we do not do this survey, this pride survey, in these years. That's a survey that is done across the state. You can see percent of students who perceive marijuana use as moderate or great risk. See what that number was 2 years ago? See what that number was last year. Percent of students who perceive marijuana use as moderate or great risk. Just informative. Just informative. Goal number 4, recruit, support, and retain enthusiastic professionals. Obviously, this one is very encompassed in the HR department. Linda handles all of these. I think there's 11 or 12 of these. Again, some of these come from the Pulse survey, but some of them do not. For example, the teacher and admin pay equals median of the comparable school divisions. And that was a goal of the school boards. Does it? Yes, or does it? No. Obviously, the last 2 years it has. You can see, the advanced degrees, retirement. It will be very interesting to see our new results at the end of this year after all the work we did this past summer and is currently being rolled out by our building administrators. I'm excited to see what this last number will be. It'll be interesting to see. You can see 2 years ago when the exit survey was given, and the staff member says they may have said, or 16% said, one of the reasons that was influencing their decision to leave was their immediate supervisor. But you can see what it was last year. So that, as far as I'm concerned, I think we would all agree is trending in the right direction. So I'm hoping that number's going to be even lower at the end of this year when we're collecting that information. And then goal number 5, high quality and adequate facilities. Again, this lives in the CIP, and it's going to live in a lot of the work that we have upcoming over the next several months. But you can see what our utilization percentage is, and that's barely moving because our student enrollment is very, very, very stagnant, very level. To be honest, it has been for years. But nonetheless, you can see that from our facilities. And we always try to take this data from a consistent data report or a consistent set. And that's important to know so that one year we're not getting this information from this source and the next year we're getting this information from a different source. And the source where we get our student-teacher ratios is the state divisions, the state profile, the state school profile. And that information is not updated yet for this current school year. So I just want to point out a couple of them just to give you a sense of what's there. Obviously, you can read it at your leisure. And again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask, because there's a story behind every number. Then the appendix, you can be able to go to our CIP, and then the last portion of the appendix is the fall membership report. I know it's too small to see here, but again, it's pretty doggone close into what the projections were. It's a couple hundred off, but it's not too far off. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Dennis.
I want to congratulate the superintendent and Dr. Heingartner for, I think these 5 are spot on. As Dr. Shepard pointed out earlier, and you pointed out, it takes a lot of courage to show numbers that could be misinterpreted. There would be others who would be tempted to hide those numbers and kind of fudge it or just ignore them. Throwing them up there and inviting questions about them shows a lot of courage, which shows me a lot of confidence. And I think that's, again, highly, highly laudable. And I'll finish with, it's heartening to see a veteran warhorse, you don't mind me using that term, like Dave Heingartner saying that he can't wait to see the results of something. I mean, I'm dead serious that when professionals are looking forward to the results, coming in and see how they're doing, that's a real indication of a professional attitude that, in my experience, trickles down all the way. And I think we're seeing that already. So, splendid job, and we'll try to help you get there. And but thanks for what you guys have done so far.
Absolutely. Other questions?
So I think I remember when you were creating this document. So Dr. Heingartner really has a whole lot to do with how this looks and how things are measured, because he created it from nothing a few years ago. So appreciate that. And then the other thing I just want to point out, because it always is shocking to some people to see, is that student-teacher ratio is not a reflection of class size.
I'm glad you made that point. You're exactly right. That particular number gets very misleading and very often misinterpreted. Yeah. Absolutely.
When you're applying to colleges, they always put that disclaimer. So I've started saying that to people when they say, well, it's not. It's because some classes can only have one in it, by nature.
And the state will calculate it, and they'll count these positions. Construction firm will calculate it, and they'll use these positions. On different, and they all, sometimes librarians are included, and counselors and administrators, and sometimes they're not. And so that's a great example of there's a story behind that.
Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you. Hope you feel better. Gargle with salt water.
Dr. Helsley?
Yes, Dr. Helsley. No, that was my good mother. 4-2. Dr. Shepard's already getting in place. This is the report to the community. Shenandoah County Public Schools.
So each year, we do a report to the community. So this is a reflection of the 2022-2023 school year. And you'll notice the very first page is a visual depiction of what we did last year. So, and this is available on board docs for you to go back and look at. You'll notice that last year we had 97.5% of our students graduate on time. So what is on-time graduation? On-time graduation is students who start 9th grade and complete in 4 years. So we had 97.5% of our students graduate on time. Of those graduates, 176 of them earned an advanced diploma. So 176 out of 418 graduates earned an advanced diploma. Total scholarships awarded were, let's see, that may be the next page. It's right there. Total scholarships awarded were $4.18 million. The local scholarships were around a little over $375,000. About 50% of our students go on to college, and about 50% of our students go on to the workforce, to the military, or trade school. 14 of our students earned an associate's degree before they graduated from high school, probably 2 weeks before they walked the stage at Laurel Ridge Community College, and then a couple of weeks later they graduated from their alma mater. 19 students earned a general ed certification. We served over 800,000 meals, breakfast and lunch last year. And then switching to personnel, 55% of our teachers have advanced degrees, a master's or a doctoral degree. We had 976 employees, including our food service workers. Our transportation department, that's the next one, traveled over 500,000 miles, which equates to about 20 times around the earth. And like I said, this is available on board docs for you guys to review. But this report was put together by our good friend Jessica Sager, so please give her a pat on the back when you see her, because it's a job well done, always. Any questions?
Questions? Thank you. And you might as well stay there, because you're going to give us an update on the elementary school vestibule.
Thank you, Travis. So fiscal year 2023, the General Assembly allocated $2.3 million for school construction. And with that $2.3 million, we are going to add secure front entrances to our elementary schools. If you'll remember, the summer of 2022, Sheriff Carter updated the school board on school safety, and he made 3 requests. And one of the requests was to add an additional SRO so that there could be a floater. So I believe that has happened just recently. And then a second request was to that the one-way in and the one-way out of the Strasburg, the northern campuses, was difficult. However, that's not something that we're going to be able to tackle, because it needs a bridge, and we are not bridge experts. We are education experts. But the third thing that he said is we need secure entrances for our elementary schools, and we need those secure entrances so that we can have parents go in, parents or visitors go in and be in a vestibule before they enter the building. So we are tackling that now. So the first school we're looking at is Honey Run Elementary School, and this is a rendering of what Honey Run Elementary School will look like once the new vestibule is added. You'll notice that there is some signage there to actually point to the front entrance of the building. Sometimes at our schools, I know at W.W. Robinson, both of those entrances look the same. It's the right entrance and not the left, which was their main entrance last year, but this year it is the left entrance. So, but all of our schools will have some signage that shows that this is where you enter the building. And then here is the actual drawing of what that's going to look like. So you will see that there are double doors here, which the community will enter. This is the vestibule area where people will wait until they are buzzed either in this set of doors or in this door right here. We are adding some security film to our front windows and our front door. And we are also adding some additional windows for visibility of the outside of the building. Please feel free to stop me if you have any questions along the way. So here is the rendering of W.W. Robinson Elementary School. You'll notice that it actually brings that entrance almost out to the left portion that juts out on that building. And then here is the drawing of that, and you will notice that here is the entrance, and this is the vestibule area. Here is one set of double doors that will be locked, and then you notice a door right here for parents to go into the office. But they will be in this waiting space until they get buzzed in. And then finally, we have Sandy Hook Elementary School. And again, here's the visual, here's the rendering. And then here's the front entrance, and there is the secondary entrance, and then you have the door right there for to go into the office. Any questions before I turn this over? Oh wait, I've got one more slide. So anticipated timeline. So we started this process several months ago with Mosley Architects, and they provided us the renderings and the drawings. But in August, we sent out a bid to construction companies. We received 2 bids for the project, and we would like to award the bid in October. So this month, we expect the project to launch in November, and then the completion will, if this time works, then the completion will be in April of 2024. And then Angie's going to talk about finances. If you have any questions about anything I've talked about. Yes, Mr. Barlow.
Not about finances, but as these are being designed and built, is there somebody who works with the builder at figuring out the proper siting for cameras and for the camera monitoring system? In other words, is this kind of an integrated process that as the build goes on and the design goes on, that the plan for camera usage and monitoring is integrated?
So the actual camera locations have already been established in the plan. I don't know that I could see it here to point them out because there has to be wiring to the cameras. So that all that work has already happened. So, so the cameras, you know, we have architects who are experts in designing and building schools. They were the ones who said, okay, you probably need a camera here and there, and this is where your door access point is going to go, and this is how we're going to wire them. Yeah.
What, the completion is April, that's next spring. What's about the interruption of taking care of people coming in while the school year is going on?
Yeah, so all of our elementary schools have relocated to another space so that the interruption will be minimal.
Okay.
All the offices, that's correct.
Any other questions for her?
Ms. Stein?
Okay, financing 101.
Thank you, Dr. Shepard. All right. So this is a number you've seen before. The state awarded us $2.3 million. The next architecture and engineering is $141,812. That's with Mosley Architects. Ancillary costs we're estimating to be around $110,000. This includes setting up and moving of the offices, which she just talked about. It includes asbestos testing, installation of data outlets, furniture, and anything else that might come up that's ancillary in the project. That leaves us an available balance of just over $2 million. The low bid came in at $2.6 million, obviously more than what we had remaining. So we went back to Mosley Architects and asked them to do some value engineering with the low bid firm, and we were able to find some savings of $116,000 in some material savings and equipment usage. Then we like to put in, market says to do like 3% for contingency on construction for change orders and things like that that may come up. When we take all of that into consideration, The total cost of the project is just over $2.8 million. Again, the state awarded us the $2.3 million. As you all voted on earlier this year, and the county has established for us the escrow account, we will be getting some interest on that. I've estimated about $40,000. The August interest was just over $9,000. So again, that's going to depend on interest rates and expenditures that we use, over the next couple of months. Then it left us with requiring $494,000. We got together and we'll have to postpone some CIP projects that we had originally scheduled for this year, but we felt that we had the $2.3 million from the state and the safety of our elementary students, this project needed to move on. So we're going to be, we're estimating using about $494,000 of the CIP funds that the county appropriated for us this year. Any questions?
Questions?
Yeah.
Andrew.
Go back to that ancillary.
Costs. Those are just those other things that
comes up with that number.
Well, so some of the stuff we already know about. So it is an estimate. Let me get back to my notes here. So we already know, we worked with IST to set up and move the offices, so we already had to pay those.
IST being?
The security technology firm that we use. The asbestos testing was WECI. They came in and did the asbestos testing. That cost $9,250.
What do they test?
To see if there's asbestos under the floor and in the tiles and things like that. That was required through the RFP. The installation of the data outlets, that's something that Dr. Shepard was just talking about when we moved the offices. So those are costs that we already know. So we took that and added just a percentage to get it in there. It's pretty close.
It's a lot.
Other questions? Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Shepard. 4.4, proposed budget development of the calendar and school board meeting dates for '24.
So the proposed budget calendar and the proposed school board meeting calendar are attached to this agenda item, and they will be recommended for approval at the November school board meeting.
And the questions first? The calendar, you mentioned when we met 101 about the work days for elementary, and that's included in this?
Yeah, so no, this is school board meeting schedule.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Just off the top of my head, looking at it here real quick, it looks great to me.
I agree. I don't know why we're voting on it. All right, any other questions? Moving on, I assume. 4.5, Virginia School Board Association proposed legislative position amendments. Dr. Shepard or Ms. Walsh?
Ms. Walsh.
So I was elected by this good board to be the delegate to the VSBA this year, and Kyle is my vice delegate. What's the right word? Anyway, the good news is there are only 4 amendments proposed this year to the legislative positions handbook. They're pretty straightforward. 2 of them are from rural schools, 2 of them are from urban schools. They're not terribly complicated. I would propose that we vote on them as a block at our next meeting, unless someone wants to pull one out separately to vote on. But I am open to suggestions.
Well, it's good that Warren County got one in.
Yeah, they did.
Usually it's Fairfax County.
Well, there's 2 Fairfax, 1 Warren and 1 Tazewell.
That's a rule.
Yeah, that is rural.
So when would you need to know?
What did we decide?
I think it was November.
The Friday.
The 3rd.
November 3rd, please.
Okay, so send you the information that we have.
Yeah, if there's one that you want pulled out separately.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, by November 3rd. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Action items. 5.1, colleagues. Do we hear a motion on student matter A?
I'll do it. I move that the student considered in student matter A be expelled from Shenandoah County Public Schools.
Motion made by Ms. Walsh. Do I hear a second?
Second?
Second by Mr. Barlow. Roll call vote.
Mr. Barlow?
Yes.
Ms. Walsh? Yes. Mr. Gutschall?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
And Mr. House?
Yes. Motion carried by a 5-0 vote. 5.2, request of increase of 2024 operating budget for IDEA Part B flow through for special education for the 23-24 allocation.
I move to approve the request to increase the fiscal year 2024 operating budget IDEA Part B flow through for special education 2023-2024 allocations.
Thank you, Mr. Gutschall. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Keller. Discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Barlow?
Yes.
Ms. Walsh? Yes. Mr. Gutschall?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. House?
Yes. Motion carried by a 5-0 vote. Moving on, we're skipping 5.3. 5.4 personnel. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the personnel list as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Keller. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gutschall. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes, that vote also carried by 5-0. Moving on to Superintendent's monthly report. Dr. Shepherd, you have any highlights?
I do.
Good.
Our monthly attendance for September was up from 93.04 in 2022 to 94.4 in 2023. We thank our families for continuing to make attendance a priority. We would also like to congratulate our grade level spelling bee winners. They will compete in school level bees later this fall, and then the county bee will be held in January. Our teachers and our administrators are working hard to come up with fun activities to engage both our students and our parents. A few examples include W.W. Robinson Elementary School held a Bring Your Parent to PE Week. I believe about 185 parents participated in that, or guardians or family members. Sandy Hook Elementary School kindergarten students had an alphabet parade with students and staff to celebrate learning the whole alphabet. Honey Run Elementary School, as you heard earlier, hosted a Career on Wheels that featured a fly-in from Air Care, and our students and staff were very excited about that. We hope everyone will join us for our Education Expo on October the 21st. It will be hosted at Mountain View High School this year. We have music performances, fun activities, free books for our students, and much more. And then our marching bands are midway through their competition season. We would like to wish them luck as they continue to compete throughout October. And the fall concerts have kicked off. So tonight we have some fall concerts at the Central Campus.
I'm missing.
And I encourage everyone to come out and support our students and staff by attending these music events. And the event calendar is available on our website. And then we would like to congratulate Tinley Rusher of Strasburg High School, who won the Luray Girls Golf Invitational. And then Mountain View High School won their homecoming football game last weekend. And we want to wish luck to our Central High School and Strasburg High School teams as they compete in their homecoming games over the next couple of weekends. That's all.
Any questions? I have one about, we haven't heard any complaints about the lunches. I mean, running out, that's
I have
first
not-
couple of weeks, they have to work through that, and I know each child that went through the line got something to eat.
That's correct. I have not heard anything in addition to that.
Okay, that's good to hear. And the kids are eating.
Yes.
All right. All right, board comments. Who would like to start? Mr. Keller.
I have nothing at this time.
Mr. Gutschall.
I have nothing.
Ms. Walsh.
Sorry. I just wanted to thank Dennis and Andrew for working together to come up with a plan for next steps for the library policy. I think it's a really good plan, and I appreciate that the parents are included, and that will give the librarians a direction to move in before we hit them with stuff. Melody mentioned marching band competition season has started. Last weekend was Parade of Champions at JMU. Everybody calls it the Marching Band Christmas because it's so much fun, and the Marching Royal Dukes performed twice. Mountain View High School this year moved up a level because their band got bigger, so they had some really stiff competition. They did not place, but they were robbed because their show is so good. And if you get a chance to go to one of the Mountain View home games, you got to see the halftime show because it was stunning. It was a great story, great music, great costumes. And then Central did place this year. They placed 4th, which was the same as last year. For their division, we're in a smaller division because we've got the smallest band. I think we have the smallest band competing because we went first at 8 a.m. Call time was 3:45 a.m. But they got 4th, and our color guard got 1st in our division, so that's really exciting. And I do want to give a shout out to all of the elementary school principals. I won't list all the events because Melody listed them, but they are really bringing their parent and student together as a community and doing all of these fun activities, and it's great to see so much parental involvement at these events that the principals have worked on, so I appreciate that. That's it.
Mr. Barlow.
Sorry, Kyle, I got 4 things, so. But I'll get through them. First of all, as far as doing the work that it takes between now and the November meeting to come to grips with a policy, a library selection policy. Mr. Chair, I recommend that Mr. Keller and myself use the good offices of the superintendent to get together the group of librarians and others who will form this committee in the next month. So if the superintendent is okay with that, and the chairman's okay with that.
It certainly is all right with me.
Then Andrew and I will figure out a time to come and work that out with the superintendent and her staff. Second thing is that we heard a presentation during the work session that was incredibly enlightening to me, and I just have to take a couple of minutes because I think it's something we need to address or be aware of in the future. We got a really, I think, stunning report from the student support specialists who used CARES funding to engage these students and their families who don't know about using services in the community. And after 21 years in diplomacy, I can smell authenticity. And those folks, Deborah Litton and her folks, Linda and Dorothy, made a stunning presentation. And I'm one of those guys that says just teach, 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 but it hit me that if we don't run interference for these students that are having problems, I'm not talking just discipline, I'm talking socioeconomic problems, and let their poor parents, when I say poor, I mean their understanding of how to get through the system is tough. It's tough for us. You can imagine what it's like for some of these parents. And it broke my heart to hear, I forgot who it was it Linda? I'm not sure, but somebody was saying that when they went to the parents said, well, you're the school system and the teachers, and we trust you. And to realize how much faith these people put in our guidance, it really made me realize that it's not directly teaching, but it's, I'm going to use a football analogy here. It's a little bit like a pulling guard who pulls out and makes a way for the running back to carry and score. So our teachers are the ones who run and score by teaching. But when you can clear the way and clear the fog out so that the teaching can become more effective, and then that is a strong educationally necessary activity. I think our goal or our challenge will be to figure out how either we keep doing that, but get funded for doing it, because it's not teaching, education per se. And we could even work with the Board of Supervisors, I don't know. Or take it on as a mission that is a subsidiary educational mission, but find the funding to do it. I just think it's so important to find those parents and those students who are struggling with how to get help and to get along, that it's something that we need to keep going. So that's my ad there. And finally, Kyle, there was an article. It's very rare for me to quote the New York Times, and I'm going to do that today. New York Times and the Washington Times. Now, there's a couple, the same article, but anyway, it's titled, "Pentagon-Run Schools Led Nation in Math and Reading Last Year."
I was going to tell you about that article, yep.
So, children of military service members and civilian defense employees in schools run by the Pentagon led the nation in math and reading last year, improving even after the COVID-19 disruptions. The percentage of 8th graders in the DoD schools who scored proficient in reading increased from 45% in 2013 to 55% in 2022, according to the NAEP, the Standardized Federal Exam that compares states and large districts. Over the same period, the national average for reading proficiency in all 50 states dropped from 34% to 29%. So we see that the DoD schools went up during the period when the national schools went down. In mathematics, it's pretty much the same. It wasn't as dramatic, but it was the same. New York Times first reported the numbers Tuesday, noting that the military-run schools also had the highest scores for Hispanic and Black students, who outperformed the national average of their white peers. That's stunning. Education experts attributed the performance gaps to our objectives: higher academic standards, smarter financial decisions, shorter COVID lockdowns, and better family support. And we've captured some of those in our objectives. And so seeing the beginning of a turnaround probably shouldn't shock us. And this model is now, don't get me wrong, there are some things about DoD schools. I know some of the teachers in that system, they get paid pretty well. And then you're dealing with military families as well. So, but there's still a lot here to grasp about the improvement that's possible. So I think that model is something we should keep in mind. That's all. Joe.
Okay, I have very few things. First of all, we got an email, colleagues, from a parent that had a YouTube video, and I came early to do my homework here, and I already looked at it. Dad destroys book banning. You need to look at it. It's from a father in Pennsylvania, and anyone in the audience, you can look that up. Also, my homework, I found our attendance went up by 74. I mean, according to the numbers you provided. So we got more state money, I assume. That's how that.
We
no?
don't get funded for attendance, yeah. No.
Oh, the attendance. Wait, no, I mean,
student
the number of
yes.
students increased by 74. Yes. Maybe I said it wrong. I said attendance, I'm sorry. And then the couple of things, we had two great front page of the NVD, if you call that. One, Brandy's not here, but the extra recess time for elementary, it's going well. And she spearheaded that with the central office staff. And today is I mean, this is remarkable. At Central High School, they have a called Outfitters Program. They collect food and used clothing for students in their building to take home.
And they've just expanded to include formal wear, so, you know, girls who need a dress.
For prom day. Well, that's wonderful. So if you haven't read it, you can read it online and whatever. And also, it was brought to my attention that and I'd already shared this with Dr. Shepherd and the budget. A person approached me about returning middle school, having 7th grade teams for boys and girls at all 3 middle schools. I don't know what the cost is. They already had the uniforms, and I don't know when it was discontinued. Dr. Heingardner, can you tell me?
2008.
What's that?
2008.
Okay. And,
Funding plummeted.
yep. All right, and I'll adjourn the meeting at 8:40. Have a good evening.
It was good.